The game that I'd like to show you right now was played between the Dutch Grandmaster Luc van Waler, one of the best Netherlands Grandmasters, and Grandmaster Anatoly Weiser. It was played quite some time ago in 1992, but it presents a brilliant example of White's most interesting and I would say powerful plan to fight the modern stone, one of the most interesting and powerful plans to fight the modern stone, and Black's best way and reply to it. So practically the game started with d4, after which Black did f5, g3, knight f6, White fianchettos his bishop as we know, e6, knight f3, d5, and when White castled short, then Black played bishop to d6, so that after c4 he can play c6. Now we have the original stonewall formation. What White chose to do in this position was actually the move of knight b to d2, which looks kind of passive. But on the other hand, what he wants to achieve with this move is to prepare both his knights so that eventually later on when he plays the move of b3, and he brings the bishop up to b2, he can have a certain command over the d4 and e5 squares. So should he happen to jump there with his knight or get his d2 knight to f3 like that, knight e5 to knight d to f3, then he might actually have a good a restriction against most of Black's piece and his position. So it's a good variation, I'm saying, but in fact, in my opinion, not enough to guarantee White this advantage, or maybe we can say a slightly better position, and the reason is just one, and this is because he doesn't have the enough activity of his pieces. Let me show you how it can go. After White plays like knight f3, then the upcoming idea for Black should be b6. Now I think that this move is not so much made in order to control c5 now, but it will introduce the good idea of bishop a6 that leaves Black's light square bishop important prospects, and thereby default, in fact, I suppose it will exert pressure both against c5 and e2, and well, if c5 comes up, then this bishop will certainly live. So White does knight e5 here, occupying an important square in the center. Looks natural. Okay, so he gets the e5, and as soon as knight e5 is played, what Black wants to do is castle on the short side. Okay, he gets to castle there. White plays now the move of knight to d3. Okay, here we go this way, and his plan is quite clear. At this point at least it's very obvious to see what he's doing. In my opinion, what he wants to do is to just bring his knight from the d2 squared f3, and then the other knight can eventually come up to e5. So what he wants to do is really get that e5 square in the command, and maybe he can develop then the dark square bishop and do so. Okay, once the white knight moves on to d3, Black is all set to play bishop a6. And now keep in mind, when White is passive, he must be active. Usually it's always like that. When White is passive in this system, he is giving you a great opportunity to come on top and start making pressure or eventually certain problems against this position. Now the move of bishop a6 is very unpleasant. It makes White to play the kind of passive queen c2, and now there is the move of knight e4 that really comes through. So it's kind of unpleasant. I don't want to say that this move is really unpleasant, but it's kind of unpleasant because what we find out is that the d2 knight is this protector of c4. Now Black wants to exchange it and win the pawn, or either he makes White to release the pressure with c takes d, which is going to leave him into a bit of a difficult position. So he tried to support the pawn with b3, which makes sense, but on the other hand, Black now has the perfect development. I find it really instructive how Black, within 3 moves with b6, bishop a6, and knight e4, could manage to put a real pressure over White's pawn and the knight, and therefore, in fact, even if White gets the exchange and rook c8, Black can still manage the powerful pressure. Okay, White tries for the e5, but instead of struggling to cover that square, Black has a much better idea. As I explained in one of my previous videos, All that black needs to do is to play with c5. Because if c5 is really made, then the exchange is gonna be quite good. I mean, black will obviously open up his pieces, and then e5 wouldn't matter, even if white can hold the control of the square. And I'm not saying that he will, but even if he can do that, then still it won't matter. So rook c8, white tried bishop f4, and then we've got queen e7 going on like this. Of course, the complete coordination between black's pieces is obvious. c5 is going to come within some of the next moves. In fact, it comes next move after a4, black plays c5, and look at the black pieces in his position. It's tremendous. You know, some masters are going to really try to fight for this e5 square and do exactly as white did in this game. With knight bd2, then knight e5, knight d3, knight f3. But if you're fast with the development and you try to choose the most prospective squares for those pieces, then even if white gets the e5 square under control, and even if he's ready to keep it, it really won't matter. And white knew that. He felt the pressure of such moves like c takes to the d and d takes to c, how the black rook and the bishop plus the other piece are going to get open and attacking. So he simply knew that the only way to make some change and put some problems is with a5. And yet, that does not work so well.